Oh, wow. That felt like it went by so
Oh,
fast.
yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to A Mexican Crossing Lines with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You are listening to 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And tonight, my show, Dirty Tactics by Caravan Activists, is going to blow your mind. I am going to show you the deep hypocrisy of these caravan activists. What they say and what they do are two very, very different things. They tell you they're human rights activists. They tell you that they are environmentalists. They tell you that they want to make sure that families are not separated, that children are not abused and exploited and trafficked. They tell you that they want to save people's lives, like those of the people that are going to be crossing through the desert, crossing through dangerous parts of Mexico and Central America. But the truth is, they don't care. They truly don't. They speak out of both sides of their mouths, but also they usurp, they cover up the voices of people that are most affected, primarily affected by the topics of detention, deportation, migration to the United States in particular. And that has always been, historically, is now, will always probably be Mexicans. Why? Because we're next door. That's why. The other person that could be the most affected by this issue could be Canada, but they're not. They just never have had the third world country status that Mexico has had, where people have been pouring in over the border because of different reasons, including economic reasons. So, therefore, you would think that a topic that is primarily affecting Mexico and Mexicans, both here and in Mexico right now, that those would be the people at the forefront of the discussion about border patrol, about the wall, about all of this stuff, especially in these activist groups, especially amongst organizers, because aren't you supposed to put the people most affected by a topic at the forefront of the topic, Duke?
That's what organizing is, of course.
That's not what's happening. Instead, as I showed you on my last show, they put the Aztec calendar in the backdrop because they want to make sure and reinforce that this issue is pervasively about Mexicans and happens to people in Mexico. But you know what? The white transgender lady is the one that speaks for the people instead. That's where I left off my last show. That's where I'm starting off on this one. And I'm going to be covering the mostly privileged, mostly white activists that are really at the forefront of these movements, including what is happening right now in Venezuela. They've got their fingers in a whole bunch of different pies, folks. It's not just one thing, it's a whole bunch of different things. But we're going to talk about the camps that are currently down south in Texas, in Arizona, the protesters that are down there, and what they're really about. They've been posting in the Border Support Network, which I showed you on Facebook, was founded by Antifa anarchist Evan K. Duke III. And I'm going to be sharing some of those posts today so that you can see what they're all into, who's all up in there posting, using that place, the Border Support Network, I mean, like it's their own house, because it is. People like Lolly B, people like Jules Kramer, also an anarchist, that works with Mark Lane and the Minority Humanitarian Foundation. And we'll also be talking about how those folks are very closely tied to Bertie Gutierrez's Bridges of Love Across Borders, and of course the Mexican shelter which they run together, which is called the Caritas Shelter. The Caritas Shelter. We will be talking about the connections back to Standing Rock. I will continue to remind people that was one of their big shows that they put on, big theater productions that they put on, costing North Dakota millions, over $30 million. And they left a mess in their wake.
Oh, yeah.
Destruction, mess, pollution, fire, injuries, death, false imprisonment, fraud, sexual assault, and abuse. All of this from the peaceful, prayerful water protectors
Oh, yeah.
that we had here at Standing Rock for over a year. So we're going to talk about this because you have to know what's going on, and we're going to delve into what's going on at the Venezuelan embassy and how all of these people are connected to that. Yes, they are connected to that. But first, I want to thank all of you who've been sending me information, collecting information, helping me to learn about all of these folks and what they're up to and how they work together. And for your support of our work here at the station. Duke, how can people get a hold of us if they want to talk to us? How can you leave us a message? You know we do listen to our voicemails, don't you? You can leave us a message if you got something to say. Call me up.
That's right.
Leave me a message. Tell me what you're thinking. We might even play it on the air.
Mm-hmm.
But also, Duke, tell people how they can support our work and donate, because you need a new microphone. That thing has got to go.
Yeah, I can't touch it right now. It's just going to sit here, and I'm going to work around it. But thank you very much, everybody. The number Cindy was talking about is 701-566-0917. It's 701-566-0917. It's a message line, so if you call it, you can leave a message up to 3 minutes, and we have used people's messages on the air before. It's a style if you want to actually give us your voice and give us your opinion or give us some information. Tell us something we need to know. You can use that line. You can also use email. You can email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. You can follow us on Facebook at 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead, the People's Press Project, the Mexi-Can. You can tweet us at media_PPP. And don't forget to go to kpppfm.com. That's our main website for our radio station. You can find all of our podcasts. We take these live stream videos and we make them into radio programs, and sometimes we play them on the air locally. And on that site, you can find the Mexican Crossing Lines and all the podcasts and all the videos that have been basically produced for the past couple of years. And also the videos we actually put onto YouTube. Our channel is Duke1517. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I need 1,000 subscribers because then we can do some super chat. We can do some other stuff that's kind of fun and interact with people in a different way on YouTube. Go to Duke1517. Click on the alert bell. Subscribe. Most important, subscribe. These videos go up after our show. They get uploaded within an hour or so, and then they're available on YouTube for other people to watch that aren't part of Facebookers. And they also don't get lost in the wall of our Facebook site. So that's a good thing there. And also when you're on kpppfm.com, go to kpppfm.com/donate. That is our place where we ask people for donations because we are a non-profit, non-commercial radio station, community run here in Fargo Moorhead. We rely on people in the community and people across the country to help raise the funds we need to continue broadcasting our signal and doing what we do on Facebook, because we are a radio station. We broadcast in the Fargo Moorhead community. We reach nearly 200,000 people, and those people are hearing the programs that you are seeing. You know, one of these days, if I'll simulcast, we're trying to see if we can do the Facebook Live at the same time as YouTube.
That would be cool.
I've looked in the user agreements, and I haven't really found where they restrict it, but I've seen posts from 2 years ago that Facebook says you cannot multi-stream to YouTube and Facebook. You can only stream to Facebook. I don't want a chance losing our standing with our Facebook page, so I'm not going to do that. We might have to do separate streams to YouTube, which means we do 2 shows, or maybe we do a YouTube show, and then you can just join us on YouTube from Facebook. We haven't decided that. We're going to continue doing the Facebook Lives now, but we want to expand, and you can help us do that by supporting us, following us, watching us, continue sending us information, the things we need, the things we build these shows on, the things we learn. The depth of understanding could not be done with the small crew we have here because we have you. We want to thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I just want to get into why this bothers me because I think that folks need to understand Duke and I are trained organizers. We are leaders that have been trained in how to put the people that are most affected by an issue at the forefront of that issue. That is how activists help resolve problems, right? But these people are frauds, they're fakes, they're phonies. There are environmental issues facing Native Americans. There is a natural tendency for the Native nations that are surrounding these infrastructure projects to be sick and tired of their lands being polluted or abused or their resources taken in an unfair way without their consultation. That is a very valid issue. But the folks that are astroturfing the pipeline protests, the environmental protests, and putting even in many cases fake Indians at the forefront of these issues, fraudulent people, people that are involved in scandals like Winona LaDuke's Honor the Earth currently is right now, for example. But there are many others like the scandal of the rapist Red Wolf Pope, who was leading the lawsuit against Trump during Standing Rock, one of them anyway. The many sexual assaults, abuses, rapes that went on. Folks, these people usurp. And you know what? What's really disgusting is that what we saw emerging out of this and what we still see right now is a bunch of people that were connected to and or protecting sexual abusers. And in many cases, they're even taking sexual abusers and putting them at the forefront of missing and murdered Indigenous women groups, searches, etc. etc. I showed you the Kathleen Bennett was framed by Mulaney Stoneman. Mulaney Stoneman kidnapped her mother and almost killed her while she had her in her care. She sure tried to kill her. This kidnapping, elderly abusing woman is now circulating and working as an Indigenous leader for vulnerable women in the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement. Can you believe this? It is not to be believed. It is not to be trusted. And as long as I draw breath, I will make sure that everyone knows the fraud, the dangerous fraud, kidnapper, and elderly abusing woman that Mulaney Stoneman is. And I will also call out these pseudo activists and their dirty tactics, because what those tactics do is silence the truth, silence the people, vilify the people. Look what they have been doing to Oscar El Blue Ramirez. How have they been trying to censor what this guy has to say? Calling him a nationalist, calling him a racist, calling him names to silence a real Mexican living right there that has to go through what he has to go through every day to be a Tijuanense. A man living in the border city of one of the largest populated border crossing daily in the world. And on top of that, with mass migration orchestrated by Americans, among others, right?
Right.
So in order to do their nonsense, in order to traffic people, to smuggle people, in order to supposedly keep these families together, and in order to do all of the things that these activists are doing, they have to lie about and shut down and censor people that are truly affected by the issue, like Oscar El Blue or Anthony Agüero, conservative Anthony. This man, born and raised in El Paso, watching and seeing what is happening in his own community, trying to protect his own community, trying to report the truth about what's going on. What happened when he went to ask a question to ask a question like yours truly did in the ABS conference in California of Nicole Ramos? What happened when Anthony Agüero, who had previously signed up like you're supposed to do, when you go to a public forum for a member of the body of our government, of Congress, to respond to us, to be held accountable by us, their constituents, and raised his hand to ask a question? What happened? They threw him out? And the headlines read, the headline about him said that Anthony Agüero had to be escorted out. It says Escobar's event is disrupted. This is now a disruption, folks. If you raise your hand, you're now a disruptor. There is video evidence of the fact the man did not even make a sound. If you raise your hand, you're a disruptor. What was his crime? He was wearing a MAGA hat. He supports President Trump. That's it. This is the same treatment that I got at the ABS conference. This is the same prejudice that people have when you talk about the hypocrisy with which these activists are doing what they're doing. And what they're doing is silencing people directly affected by these issues. I'm talking about a Mexican crossing lines. You're truly Cindy Azucena Gomez-Schempp, raised in both the United States and Mexico, with parents who are dual citizens, with family living on the other side, going and coming all of the years of my life. Anthony Agüero, a man raised, born right there, El Paso, Texas, watching his community get blown over, like stepped on, abused. And he's supposed to stay quiet. Oscar, El Blue Ramirez, being threatened by Antifa, by these fake journalists. That's what I have a problem with. When you have to silence and malign and lie about the people, simply the people most affected by an issue, simply because you don't like the message. That's what these folks are doing. That's why it makes me upset. Of course, they want to wear the Aztec calendar like a costume. They want to put it right there behind them. We are going to do our march from this place. Where's the Mexicans at? Because the spokesperson at this event was a transgender white lady. Here she is. Listen for yourselves.
This is a song for the healing of generations of queer and trans people, going back through the ancestors and moving forward through the children that will come. It is also for any and all people who have been outcast by dominant society. Spirit,
Is this the edited version?
white queen,
How long is
from the dirt of unwanted toil, you found fertile soil. Now rise, grow.
I apologize for
That's
that,
enough of
folks.
that.
I thought it was edited differently, but remember we didn't have the video yesterday. She was giving a speech at some point in the video, which I wanted you to hear because I wanted you to see that this lady is driving the agenda. Okay, and she's like, for all of the people who are what is it? Not the dominant group, and I'm like, you're part of the dominant group.
Yep.
You're part of the dominant group. And who were the other people there? Pray tell. Where's the Mexicans at?
Mhm.
Show me the Mexicans. There was an Asian activist there. We'll save this second one for a minute. Go to the slide 2 and get me these 3, and then we'll go back. If you don't mind. There's another person that spoke. She's reading off her phone. She's got a speech to give. Then there was this other activist. She's definitely a white lady, not a Mexican. And then we've got another white girl. All I see is a bunch of people from the dominant group talking about an issue. And what were they doing again? Oh, yeah. They were raising money, $13,000, almost $14,000 of which they raised for their defense fund because they went and defaced monuments or part of things that were inside of the Border Patrol Museum. And in their little group from the Tornillo occupation. That's what they were doing. And folks, let me tell you something. These people are dangerous. I want you to see how the Border Support Network is going after Anthony and the people that he has reported on that have been stopping these large groups of people crossing through that part in New Mexico. Look at this. Pay attention. This is about the Steve Brandt Viper report. Now, let me just tell you something very important. You have to understand. Okay, folks? Just for a minute before we get into this, because I want you to understand what it is I'm about to show you. Okay? The Young Turks, who employ and have interviewed Mark Lane and many of the people he is working closely with to move these people through Mexico and into the United States as part of the Minority Humanitarian Foundation / Families Together, Paola Mendoza / Bridges of Love Across Borders, Bertie Gutierrez's organization, Mashup, and everyone under the umbrella of the San Diego Rapid Response Network. That TYT, the Young Turks. Those Young Turks employ one of the top dogs, if you will, that is moving these caravans. And they're the source of an article in which they are accusing this Patriots militia at the border of having members who praise Hitler and want to murder and commit genocide against immigrants. That's how the story reads. I'm not even going to share the link to their stupid article, but you can find it. Type into the Google machine, TYT, Steve Brandt, militias, Hitler. You'll find it right away. And if you look, it's very much painting a picture that militia group that was in the desert is full of Hitler-loving murderers. Even one of their own guys reported it. That's not what happened, though. What happened was that this group of people that's been down there that have been there for months. You think that a bunch of Nazi-loving, Hitler-loving, murdering racists were going to be down there for months and months and months and months, and you wouldn't hear a peep? Nobody would get hurt? There wouldn't be no video of them saying or doing something stupid or dangerous or putting people's lives at risk because they were live streaming all of this all of the time? Not a single evidence of it? None? So what did they try to do? They try to point out that the fact that they carry guns, and at the time they were carrying long guns, which they no longer do, in a state where you can openly carry and it's perfectly legal for them to do that, as long as they're not pointing them at people and making threats, right? They try to make the use of the videos of them telling people to sit and wait for the Border Patrol, etc., and equate it to kidnapping and equate it to etc. Right? These folks have been trying to be pretty careful anyway. And so, of course, when a new person they didn't know joined up to help them and started talking like a crazy person, they immediately told him to get the hell out of Dodge, and they reported him to the police. Now, does that sound like the kind of group that is a Hitler-loving, genocidal group of murdering racists?
Nope.
No, because if they were, they wouldn't have reported that guy to the police. They wouldn't have told him to get the hell away from them. They would have embraced him. So then, what happened? They tried to make us Anthony Border Network News. They tried to make him adjacent to the people as much as possible. Like, Anthony's one of them in the militia too. Well, technically he's just reporting, but they try to make it like that. They try to make it look like that. They put him in the videos where they call them, dangerous racist kidnappers, and they put Anthony right there in the video so that you'll associate the two. And then they posted this. And let me just tell you a little bit about D.D. Myers. This is the person, and here's the post that they put in Border Support Network. By the way, thank you out there to the people that sent this to me, because D.D. Myers has me and Duke blocked. So to those of you who are regularly going into these spaces and checking out what these fools are saying about me and about the good people that we have been working with or trying to discredit us, let me tell you, I appreciate the fact that you're bringing me this information. D.D. Myers involved out at Standing Rock, working with the thugs from the American Indian movement. I'm going to call them what they are. They're thugs. And a self-described keyboard warrior, anarchist style. She compared herself to Snowden, didn't she? Mm-hmm. This D.D. Myers, I have a history with her. Let me explain the history I have with D.D. Myers real quick, okay? Because the rest of you don't know this. I've already told Anthony. I've already told Oscar. I've already told some people. And it's interesting because I actually told this story to them to give them an idea of the kind of crazy lengths that these activists will go to shut people up. So there was a group of lawyers that came out here. You know how they got lawyers swarming around this whole Caravan thing, making money left and right. Many of them very unethical and unscrupulous people. Well, we had them too up here at Standing Rock when we had that whole Standing Rock thing. And they were just collecting money left and right, left and right, left and right, like Winona LaDuke. And then guess what happened? They kept it. They still probably got that money, and they're using it for other things. But these lawyers, one of them at one point, when I was being harassed, because I was getting harassment, particularly from the lawyers in that group, threatening me through their surrogates, threatening me in their videos with Myron Dewey and Ed Higgins, threatening that they were going to sue me and such. Along comes a lawyer lady, a 70-some-year-old lawyer lady named Ann Redford Hall. She offered to be my lawyer. She offered to take my work and make sure that it was something I could put out, because my work consisted of interviews with a bunch of the people, the activists that got arrested. These people didn't want that information to get out, and she pretended to be my confessor, my lawyer, my representative, so that she could shut me down, censor me, and take away my agency to do my work. I see things now for what they are. But she went so far as to fly me out to Washington, D.C. for us to work together. Didn't happen. Guess what? Guess what happened though? When the camps at Standing Rock were about to close, during the time that I was waiting for her to work on my case, to come and see me and physically work on my case, she called me out of the blue from Standing Rock with Dee Dee Myers, who I guess was one of the people involved in the pilot Dean Dedman's arrest that I told you about earlier, that connected me to the lawyer. She recommended this lawyer help me. She told the lawyer about my situation and the things that I had been talking about on my show. And this lawyer called me with Dee Dee Myers and said, hey, guess what? We're in North Dakota. We're at the Prairie Knights Casino. We're at the closing, they're closing the camps out here. It's crazy. Why don't you get ready to receive us? Because we're coming to Fargo. And we're going to work on your case, Cindy. And they were supposed to be coming the next day. It didn't happen. Only Dee Dee Myers showed up. This Dee Dee Myers, that lady there. Only she showed up, drunk out of her mind. The entire time, I'm talking about blackout, fall down, poop in your own pants drunk. Like that drunk. This woman was out of her mind and was making some wild accusations that Duke was a dangerous person, that my kids were stealing from her. She was completely nutso. And when we told her to leave repeatedly over a 2-day period when she wasn't blacked out, she refused. Do you remember that, Duke?
Oh, yeah, I'll never forget it.
It was terrifying what this woman did. What they sent her over to do, I guess I'll never know for sure, but I got rid of her. I have my ways. I got rid of her.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just tell you that this woman who's heavily involved in the administration of the Border Support Network, along with people like the AIM people, these thugs, she wants information on this militia. If you have any tips about border militias, contact Ken securely via Signal at, and then they put their phone number there. And then it says, member of border militia that detained 200 migrants at gunpoint told the police another member had said, quote, why are we not lining them up and shooting them? We have to go back to Hitler days and put them all in gas chambers per a report I obtained under FOIA. What's the link say? Oh, why, they're sharing that the youngturks.com story? Yep. Imagine that. Mark Lane's employer article is being shared by the Border Support Network that posts Mark Lane's stuff all the time. The same people that want to cast aspersion on Anthony Agüero are the caravan traffickers. They are the coyotes. So they want to point a finger at a real Mexican and go, oh, he's the bad guy. Look at this. I'm going to show you. This is all bullpucky. Here's another woman that's been attacked recently and a priest. Guess what? They're both Mexicanos. They live in Mexico. One of them is El Padre Solalinde, one of the greatest human rights advocates and one of the most knowledgeable people on the topic of caravans, and Guadalupe Correa Cabrera. It's in the Dallas News today. It's an opinion piece. You guys got to go check it out for yourselves. I will share the link here so that you can see it. But if you go, this is what she said. This is what El Padre Solalinde says. Alejandro Solalinde and Guadalupe Correa Cabrera both wrote this article entitled, Central American caravans are not organic migrations. What forces are behind them? Do you know who attacked Guadalupe and Father Solalinde? Pueblo Sin Fronteras. You know who else? Nicole Ramos. The same lady that said that Oscar and I went to harass her. The same people that gave false information, calling me a racist. Calling me a racist. Simply because I was with Oscar. Calling him a fascist. Simply because he's doing his job. in his city reporting in public, doing a live stream on the street. That's what we are accused of doing. We're being censored for trying to report the news. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But there it is, folks. And if you look at this article, which is in English, she usually publishes a lot of stuff in Spanish. She calls out Pueblos Sin Fronteras. We know that these traffickers, these human traffickers that are being investigated right now, they're on those lists that the Department of Homeland Security is investigating them. They're on the list. I'm not on the list. Anthony's not on the list. Oscar's not on the list. But these people who keep saying they're the victims of harassment and hate, they're all on the list. See, that's what their real problem is. Let me show you what else they posted in there. This one gets me. This is hilarious, okay? This is Lori Kaya Simmons posting in the Border Support Network about the environment at the Rio Grande River. She's very upset about it, guys. Do you know why she's upset? Let's read the post, shall we? It's got a picture of some concrete and some, what'd you say those are, Duke? Big rocks?
Yeah, rocks and looks like pieces of wood.
Pieces of, well, let me tell you what it is, okay? The post at the very bottom, and you can just keep the pictures up there for the time being. I'll just read from what's posted at the bottom, and you can show it here in a minute,
Right.
so that they can appreciate what she's talking about. Posted on May 12th, okay, guys? It says, concrete and steel rebar are being dumped into the Rio Grande River. I'm sure the official reason this is being done is some BS about erosion. Keep in mind, the drop into the river is about 35 feet. This isn't erosion. This is a tool used by Homeland Security and the landowner to prevent entry and exit of the Rio Grande River. Maybe they suspect that you're human smugglers and traffickers too. Maybe that's what the Homeland Security people are doing. She goes on, this is destruction of the habitat into the river that's already so sick by the pollution being dumped into her, compounded by what rust and other chemicals that are being released by this. This is the crisis on the border that nobody wants to talk about. And then she puts hashtag Carrizo Come Crudo, Tribe of Texas, Carrizo Come Crudo, donation of Texas. No border, no wall. Protect the sacred. Build a village, save the earth. Yauli Village, Somi Sec, Border Village. Ahe Payasel, that must be another one of their crazy camps. Water is life. Protect what you love. Defend the sacred. Save RGV, not human, not animal. Border Village, Somi Sec. Okay, now, who is this lady? Who is this woman? Pray tell. Here is the tags. By the way, she is tagged in this with, if you go all the way to the top, you'll notice it. She's in the post with, oh wait, maybe it's to the bottom. I apologize. This one goes different. Is Vanessa Dundon, right? So the first one is Vanessa Dundon, who is AKA Susie Desba. Okay. Cristina Mancias is the daughter of Juan Mancias, and there's Juan Mancias, the chief of the Come Crudo tribe. You have Joe Plouffe, one of the organizers of and fundraisers for these camps. You've got Jesse Garcia, who the police were looking for at the camp that everyone lied to the police about. You've got drone pilot Mason Bobby Leonard, drone pilot Mason Bobby Leonard, recently photographing Border Patrol or military surveillance planes in the area. And you have Susie Desba down at the bottom. Okay? And then I have a little video for you real quick featuring this Mason Bobby Leonard that I found on this woman's page. So she is at camp, folks. She's one of the people at camp helping these folks. Go ahead, honey. Show them.
border, no wall.
Yeah. That's what they're out there doing.
What was that?
They're horrible. First of all, those people don't know how to dance a cumbia. No seas cochino. If you don't know how to do something, you should probably not do it. Anyway, that's Mason Bobby Leonard, the drone pilot that I showed you was with Dean Dedman. Remember that I showed you that Dean Dedman guy was out there dedicating the burning of buildings that caused 2 people to have to be hospitalized. One had to be life flighted to Minneapolis because of the severity of their burns after the explosion, because of the fires that they set at Standing Rock. That guy that dedicated the burning buildings to me in the video that in the recent show that I did about all of these drone pilots. Well, he's down there now at the camps too, along with Louis Monsivice, former felon, Hollywood stuntman, and one of the people that is a drone pilot as well, who says in his own videos that he is a coyote, that he and his family are all coyotes, and they have a money-making business crossing people, but they do it the safe way, folks.
Yeah.
I showed you that, right? He's down there right now, too. They're all down there. Here's Mason Bobby Leonard, the drone pilot. And you can see he's tagged in that picture. I just wanted to make sure that you can see the tags there and that he is in them, because some people can't tell the difference between one person and another person, but you have to scroll the picture to show the tags. There he is. Mason Bobby Leonard is tagged in the comments. And here is another one of the pictures from Lori Kaye Simmons' page I found. Why, it's none other than that water protector tattoo. Everyone that was at Standing Rock that was part, not just everyone that was at Standing Rock, that was part of the group of organizers and activists that were the most involved, that got themselves arrested for the cause, that were down, that were there to throw down and commit crimes if necessary. That tat. And if you go to the right, you will see that she says that you have to scroll up a little bit more. But she says, oh, it looks like one of her friends has one of the other tats, and you got to keep scrolling. Oh, well, I guess I did not get the right picture in there. Guess what it was? She explained that Ernesto Burbank gave her the tattoo. I just wanted to show that.
That's his work. We've seen it before.
Well, he's not the only tattoo artist that was putting those on, but yeah, he was also from Standing Rock. Here's what they're really doing out there, folks. I showed you that they're using their drones to fly over the construction. I showed you that they're using their drones. This is another picture from her page. Look at what they're doing. They've talked about the fact, was it Orlando Cruz? Yeah, Orlando Cruz. I did a whole show about how crazy Orlando Cruz is, one of the drone pilots, and how methed out he is. He's drugged out of his mind in those videos. But he talks about how in that area where they are, people come out of the river wet.
Yep.
And they're hiding in the bushes, and that if you honk your horn or something, they run out of the bushes and they get into your car. How does he know that? How the hell does he know that? Look at what they're taking pictures of. They're taking pictures of the Border Patrol. Look at that. This is from her page. And there's 6 people that are there. Whole bunch of people that are crossing in this area where they're camping right now, where they're at. And you can see this is from her page. And then this other picture shows they're going to Mexico, guys. They're going to Mexico. This one is called, wait a minute. Surveillance CVP. Did we do that?
Yeah, that was one.
And then how about the Border Patrol post? Okay,
That's this one.
sorry. I skipped ahead. Let's go back to the Border Patrol post. You want to start reading that one for me, please?
Oh, you want this one? Okay.
If you could.
Yep. Lori K. Simmons is speaking here. You hear the sound of blades. You hear the sound blades make as it travels through the air. You can feel the whip since through the air as your heart starts to race. Your hair is flying everywhere. You notice the trees bending and guys smiling. They are so low. Your breath comes faster as your mind races to react. Your whole body is screaming to run. Your knees want to buckle as you put your hand over your ears. But wait, you have been here before. You have done this before, but the helicopter was yellow and not black. The land you stand for is your home, not up north. Then you pull from all the prayers and the songs of different time, and you suck in a deep breath as you whisper to yourself, you're stronger. You hold your head up to face this new threat and hold the ground with your arms screaming, I'm not scared of you anymore. You can't hurt me anymore. With shaky hands, you force that deep breath. You know the one that claims you and forces you to center. You pick up your camera and you fight back because seriously, what are they going to do? Hey BP, Border Patrol, since I know you're monitoring everything I do, I prayed for your safe return to your families and that you find a little seed of compassion somewhere deep inside and water it. If you that should be scared of me, not the other way around. My prayers, people and ancestors protect me. What protects you? My prayers penetrate bulletproof. How's that for healing and growing?
And then she shows a picture of the Border Patrol plane, helicopter, excuse me, that they're taking a picture of. What is she talking about there?
What's she talking about?
She's talking about the fact that she was at Standing Rock, and I'll show you that in a second.
Yeah,
but they also went to Reynosa, Tamaulipas. This should be very concerning. Here are some kids that she was taking a picture of that were waiting for their mother to, and you'll notice on the post, it says Tamaulipas, Reynosa, right there. Okay? So they're crossing the border. What in the hell are they doing crossing borders? I can tell you it's nothing good. And here is what they posted about Notre Dame's burning.
Oh.
Just try this on for size. What does it say over the Notre Dame building? It says construction started in 1163, sacred to its people, tragic. Right? That's a tragedy. But then we're referring to this tree that they keep talking about that is on this butterfly sanctuary land where there's the cemetery that they're building, stopping the border wall. It says Montezuma cypress sprouted approximately 1119, sacred to its people, having the nerve to grow on construction of the South Texas border wall near Mission, Texas. Beyond tragic because it's not sacred to the right culture. Huh. This is what she posted, and then she tags the drone pilot. And she says, sorry, not sorry. One was an accident. One is on purpose. Will you help now? This tree means as much as that cathedral to people. Makes sense yet? The structure is a work of art by man. This tree is a work of art by God. Where are your priorities? You would think that these people, the way they talk, are incredible environmentalists, that they care very much, that they're not literally supplanting the voices of other Native Americans while they themselves aren't really, or even traditionalists. But they are. That's what they do. Lori does more than just try to do pithy memes. She also does comms work. Here she is, her post, and she's got a laptop on the ground there. She's got a camera on the side of her, on the other side. So you can see that she's one of the people that has equipment there. And she was also fundraising for the Caravan tribe. Oh, yeah. You can see that. That's a nice camera, Duke, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Nice stuff.
That's a what is it, DSLR?
Yep.
And here is Susie Desba. Lori and Susie. You're missing Lori and Susie T. Desba. This one is Lori, Susie, Texas, Bill. Right after the comms. See that? In this
I missed it. Sorry about that.
in this post by there's a longer post in which Susie Desba is tagged with her, or maybe it was posted by Susie Desba. I'm having a hard time getting it to resolve on my screen for some strange reason. Why is it doing that, silly Billy?
Yeah, sometimes stuff happens.
And, okay, it says, if you are from Texas, please tell your representative to vote no on HB 3557. Remember I told you they were at the state capitol protesting bills that are going to criminalize their activities because they're using tactics that are like domestic terrorists trying to take down their own government. That's what these people are doing. And Vanessa Dusden is tagged here with 16 other people. These are the people that are down at these camps right now with these drone pilots, very likely aiding and abetting in the smuggling of people over the border. And they're calling here in this post to get rid of this bill and vote no on it. And this is what she says. This is how it works out here. Please understand what the law says and what the law does is two very different things and oftentimes polar opposite. If this bill is passed, it can be used when I'm out documenting sacred sites, animals, and Border Patrol armed with nothing but my cell phone and a camera makes me a felon. I do all that stuff because legally it's protesting, when in reality it's witnessing and occupying. They aren't doing this because of masses of people marching in the streets in Texas screaming about a cause. They are doing it because we are out here watching them, documenting them, and being a voice for those that cannot speak. This is about building a wall, fracking and export terminals, destroying our planet for profit. This is about the 2% trying to get rich off the blood of our lands. Pay attention, people. The state of Texas is fixing to pass a law on Monday. Now, they keep pushing it back because, yes, all our organizations are at the Capitol marching right now, which makes not only those actions of walking down a street, holding a banner, a felony, but more so for us land warriors out here that are doing nothing. A winter Texan doesn't do physically, a felony. That's the difference. What's the difference, you might think? A winter Texan doesn't specifically look for endangered protected species status on construction and observe Homeland Security, then go tell the world in social media about what's really going on down here. Winter Texans also don't speak out against 28 Native American and environmental laws that are being waived for this wall. That's not a crime in my country. That's protected by the blood of soldiers for generation. This is my right given to me by my Constitution to do this. So, in short, people, Texas is trying to violate my rights to do these things because they perceive what I'm doing is protesting. I haven't even begun to protest yet. I'm still in the tell the world about it phase. Share, please. Please take some minutes of your time and help me and my people. What's a crime in building a multi-billion-dollar wall that's not needed through some really special areas to a lot of people? Okay. And then, of course, they have the capitaloftexas.gov document at the bottom, which shows you the offense, intent to damage critical infrastructure facility. A person commits an offense. That's the bill that they want to pass. Mm-hmm. All these people are saying, no, we don't want that bill to pass because it's going to get them into trouble. And they can even find the organizations that these folks are all working with, like Honor the Earth. $500,000.
Yeah, and it still bothers me greatly that their tactics of just, we got to go protest this bill. They're already voting on it in the House, and they're there protesting that day. If they're truly organizers, they would be organizing community. They would be having meetings. They'd be having strategies where they could actually influence the legislation, influence the government that's supposed to represent you. Most of those people probably aren't even residents of the state that they're passing the bill on. They're just opportunists like the people that came to Standing Rock.
Carpetbaggers.
And carpetbaggers. and their tactics are going to fail, and they're at the last minute. They think that their protest is going to stop these people from passing the bill. No, it's going to bolster them to pass the bill. They're going to put on riders and add amendments to make things work for someone doing legitimate work. It really bothers me that they're doing this stuff.
And believe me, they're not conservationists. They're not trying to protect nothing. This woman was out at Standing Rock, so she should know. Let me just prove that to you. This is her. She keeps talking about her people. I'm guessing that she's claiming to be Native American. There's a picture of her. You can see in the background. In 2016, she was at Standing Rock, and there was grass growing. This is before the camps closed in the winter in February of 2017. Right, Duke?
Yep.
Here she is in 2016 in the wintertime. Okay? So she was out there more than once or for quite a while. And now she wants to talk about how they're blocking something by the river and it's polluting the water and the damage that was done. And this is environmental damage. And this is what they did out at Standing Rock, folks. Let me just show you some pictures, okay? This is a picture, I believe, from one of the publications, an article that shows, smoke and there's people walking on the ground, and then the inscription to the right that goes along with this is that the hashtag No Dapple environmentalists are trashing the land. No Dapple protesters, supposedly a group of environmentalists to defend the earth from an evil pipeline company and destroy the U.S. Army, are destroying the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers land that they're camping on. Oh. You can see a number of pictures down there of the devastation that went on. The burning buildings, which I told you about, that injured several people, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. Here's another one that shows you that they filled 800 dumpsters of trash. And here's another image of the fires that they set out there that injured people once again. If you scroll there to the right, it says News Archive, Standing Rock fact checkers. More than 800 dumpsters of garbage were hauled away from the Dakota campsites. Folks, do you think these really people care about pollution?
No.
Do you care? Do you think they care about pollution? No. That is an excuse so that they can have the moral high ground to go and do all their crime in. But I see what's really going on. So don't let that holier than thou attitude with which they parade around their actions stop you from holding them accountable for what they're doing. And of course, right now they're being investigated by the Department of Homeland Security, which they're upset about. But here's one of the posts in the Border Support Network that was shared, this one by Vanessa Dundon in the Border Support Network, saying, can you read that one, dude?
Yep.
Nate Dennison's post. This was just from yesterday, by the way.
Oh, really? Just posted yesterday?
Just yesterday.
Wow, that's great. Let's see.
He says,
Nate Dennison, I want to give a big thank you to ACLU. The fact that they have not only taken up my case against Homeland Security,
against this
the
Homeland Security list,
they take time to just speak with me. I will be announcing some big news that does involve me heading back down to the border in a few days. That isn't to say that things are all fixed, but I have the best legal team watching my back, watching the continuous efforts of all Otro Lodo, Border Angels, No More Deaths, No Mas Muertes, Bridge of Love Across the Border, Yalui Village, and more. It's been getting to me that I am letting this defeat me. Be on the lookout for the news. In the organizations, meantime, check out the amazing organizations that I've listed. Let's see if he lists them here. I don't see any. So this guy has the ACLU. Nate Dennison has the ACLU at his fingertips, and he claims he'll be exonerated, and he's thanking them, and he's about to go back down and be on the border. So he's just like, I think we're going to hear a little bit more from him and about him.
Well, I don't know if we're going to hear more about specifically Mr. Nate Dennison, but apparently someone else has raised their hand to tell us that they're on a watch list
Oh yeah.
for the Department of Homeland Security, and his name is Nate Dennison. And Susie posted the same thing, by the way, with her quoting basically everything said in this as her own post. So I don't know if Susie is trying to raise her hand as well and tell us all that she's on the list. But another frequent poster inside Border Support Network is by Minority Humanitarian Foundation and board member Jules Kramer. Remember that I told you that they took her last name off of their website?
Yeah.
They frequently post in the Border Support Network. Mark Lane works for the Young Turks, that article that's being circulated about Anthony Aguero. And he also runs the Minority Humanitarian Foundation. Here they are 2 hours into the time that I took this picture today, going to the border, Duke. What does it say?
The family at El Chaparral said they were experiencing their number to be called today. It wasn't. But their spirits were high. They have been waiting a long time for them processing day to come. We hope tomorrow is their day. Thanks to our friends in Los Angeles who made these food bags.
Mm-hmm. This was posted today. And there's still also, here's another post. This is Jules in the Border Support Network. This is one of the posts that they put in here. You're missing the Minority Humanitarian Foundation post. That one.
Oh, we just did that one.
Huh? No, I don't think so. We did the ACLU post, honey.
Okay.
Can we do that one? And scroll to the top there,
I think there's a reason.
please.
It's frozen.
Uh-oh. It's frozen. Doesn't want to move. What's wrong with it? That's weird.
Okay, here we go.
Scroll down.
Yeah, I just heard that.
Yeah, that's okay. I apologize. They also posted that they went to Little Haiti, and Duke, I showed you the pictures of this. What do you make of that? Don't you guys think that's weird? All of these reporters are going to all of the same places that Oscar took me to, the same places, like the Agape shelter.
Mm-hmm. Right after we were there.
Right after we were there.
Yeah, we were just there. I was like, you know, we drove through these roads that were so bumpy. I thought Oscar's car was going to get damaged. And there are houses. In fact, the whole area, it doesn't show in these photos, but the whole area is like a giant hill, big hill that was gouged out in the middle. And it was basically a ravine, and in the center was a trench where the water had been rolling off. But built into the side of the hills were people's homes, you know, shacks, few boards, some, you know, blankets hanging for doorways. On the side, they took tires and they stacked tires like bricks to be like a retaining wall. The road was so bumpy, there was rocks, you know, 2-3 feet high, and we're going like this. There was, you know, pigs walking. In fact, there's a picture of pigs right there. Pigs walking out in the ditch. There were chickens and roosters, and there was fire burning in the middle of the ravine. There was in the shelter, they were actually trying to build a little driveway up to the shelter, and so they had some heavy equipment that was making a road across and up into the shelter. And then the shelter was very nice. I mean, it was a church, and you know, Cindy did several interviews from there that she'll be playing for you in the near future.
But you know what the most important takeaway I got was what Oscar told me. He interviewed the pastor there. And you know what the pastor told him? That the Rapid Response Network are the people that are helping bring donations and fund a lot of the stuff that's being built there. The San Diego Rapid Response people. That's who's really behind a lot of this. And Mark Lane is part of the San Diego Rapid Response. Bertie Gutierrez is part of the San Diego Rapid Response. They're working with the San Diego Rapid Response. And here is another post that shows Jules with a van load of stuff. Oh, this is just showing that it really was a post in the Minority Humanitarian Foundation.
Okay.
Here's a van load. We've got of stuff that they were taking to the border. This is all posted today, folks.
Wow.
Today. They are down there going back and forth, going to their shelters, making sure that they supply the shelters that they run, that they work with, that they have their hands in, that they're using their dirty tactics within. Here's a picture of Jules from her Facebook. This is her Facebook page. So you can see who she is, and you can see in the avatar there that she is at a shelter. Presumably that's the Caritas shelter in Mexico, because there's a lot of Mexicans in the picture, and it looks like the Caritas shelter.
I see.
But here's a picture of Mark Lane with Jules at the state prison. And I thought it was a fitting picture.
Yeah. No kidding.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Calipatria State Prison.
Maybe there's some letter behind that lady's head. I don't know. But that's Jules. And here is another person she was at the shelter with, which we've seen before with Bertie Gutierrez at the Caritas shelter. That's Leti Herrera.
Oh.
This is that picture blown up. And if you look to her left, directly to her left, that's her right. But directly to her left is a woman named Leti Herrera. That's the woman. You recognize her, don't you?
I sure do.
I've seen her. You've seen her on the show, connected to Bertie Gutierrez's Caritas shelter and her Bridges of Love Across Border. These groups all blur the lines. They all work together. They're all one thing. When I started to see this pattern emerging at Standing Rock, that this correspondent was reporting for that platform, and they were working together and traveling together, and you know, I'm with Real Progressives. I'm with Drone to Be Wild. I'm with this person, but they're actually all the same thing. People denied it. They denied it. But when I see that all happening here, it's because they're simply trying to separate out their roles to not have as much accountability for their part in the smuggling chain, right? All they basically took was Occupy Wall Street tactics. There are no leaders. Decentralized the job of a smuggler and passed out jobs among themselves of little pieces and parts of what they are to do. And then they want to pretend they ain't working together. They don't know what that guy over there is doing, but they do. But they do, and I've showed you that they work very closely together. And I showed you that they work with anarchists. And Jules is one such person. Here's one of her posts from her Facebook page. You can see the symbols, the anarchist symbol right there. It says, fall in love, not in line. This is her post on Facebook. You can see it's from her page right there.
Yeah.
And here's some of the things that she's been involved with. This is just pictures from her page that show you. It's got a protester wearing a pig mask.
Oh, man.
And he's protesting the police, and it says to protect and serve on his sign. You can see there he obviously is not into the police protection.
Yep, exactly.
Then you have violent clashes with the police that are pictured here.
Man.
You can just tell this is what these anarchists are about, man. They're bringing the pain. They're going to bring los chingadazos. When you see these people, that's when the chingadazos start. Here is another picture from her page where she's pimping out little Javi, the kid with Down syndrome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah? Well, I mean, if Mark Lane of the Minority Humanitarian Foundation and Rapid Response Network can do it, why can't she?
Yep, exactly.
Who else is out there doing this nonsense? Exploiting the caravan goers for money. Lolly B, remember her? Lolly B is complaining in Caravan Support Network about what? Oh, Lindsey Graham. Why does it bother them so much? Because the government and people like Lindsey Graham are figuring out ways to circumvent these activists' dirty tactics. their exploitation of loopholes in the law and big holes in our border.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes them mad. Did you see? This was posted by her 22 hours ago. And what was Lolly B doing down there in Tijuana? Working with Al Otro Lado, telling these people that, giving them hope, telling them that they have every right to seek asylum, no matter whether or not you can actually get it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one that she posted. What is she talking about there, dude?
Let's see. The lasting trauma of mothers separated from their nursing children.
The trauma that they are putting people through for money.
Yep.
For money. Because make no mistake about it, guys. These people are making money. Money. From the process, from all of this chain of command of these folks. She's the one giving people false hope. She and her activist friends are the ones that are encouraging people, telling people that if they have children, they're less likely to get separated. And I've shown you videos, evidence of the proof that people are taking other people's children, kidnapping people's children, usually family members. There's a case of a man that took his wife's child, did not tell her that he was taking the child because he knew he'd have a better chance of getting out of detention with a child. I showed you a video of a woman that stole her grandbaby. And then the grandbaby got separated from her and she's 2 years old. And then the mother was complaining about the trauma, the psychological trauma of what her mother did to her baby. And I'm at a loss for words, folks.
Mm-hmm.
I've shown you the evidence of how unaccompanied minors are exploited by these people. People that are in many cases sex workers. We're working with these unaccompanied minors, putting them up in underground black site hotels, black site shelters in Mexico. I believe they are also doing it in the U.S. as well. I had confirmation that there are some black site shelters. I believe that those shelters have deplorable conditions, but no matter, these people will tell you that they refuse to go to the shelters in Tijuana because they are substandard and they would rather sleep in raw sewage in a tent on the street than go to that substandard shelter. But they're funneling these people in the Caravan into shelters that are the most bare bones, what you would call something that is a shelter. Like, it has walls and a roof, maybe. Okay? Like, that's how substandard some of these places are. See, those are all pretexts for them to keep the masses of these caravan goers controlled and doing what they wanted, which is having violent clashes that could be photo opportunities at the border. I showed you how these Antifa leaders who were complaining about the fact that people were trying to kick them out at Standing Rock because of their tactics, and they smugly laughed and they said to each other, yeah, but after that happened, after those violent clashes happened, after our tactics that we used, they got more donations and more followers, didn't they? Don't you see? This has always been the pattern of how they do things. And who else is Lolly B putting out there? Why, none other than Paola Mendoza, who works with Mark Lane. Paola Mendoza of Families Belong Together, one of the founders of the Women's March with Linda Sarsour. What are they doing out there? They're out there on the in Washington, D.C., what looks like on the lawn of the White House, or maybe
Jefferson Memorial,
somewhere,
maybe?
I don't
Like that,
know.
yeah.
It might
I
be
can't
near
tell.
Congress or something, maybe on Capitol Hill. Point is, they've got these a fence, and they've got like these mannequins that are just all white, that shows a mom with one of those silver, like, what are they, those blankets they give you? And
Mylar blankets.
Mylar blankets. and a child that's standing by a fence, like separated from his mother.
Oh yeah, I've seen
presumably,
those.
And the mom
I've seen
is like,
those.
please.
They've been pumping out those pictures the past few days.
Because that's this whole, pull at your heartstrings. The woman working together. This is the woman, Paola Mendoza, that you see on your screen is the same woman that Paloma for Trump videotaped talking to and making arrangements to meet up with the tear gas lady. Now, tear gas lady became famous because she took her kids out on that November day to get her kids tear gassed at the border, right? Yep. That's the same lady that refused to leave the streets. She was there making an arrangement that Paloma for Trump caught on video for this woman to meet her on the other side of the U.S. border, encouraging her to cross. This woman aids and abets these people because she's part of the whole chain. She's part of the chain, right? And Lolly B is promoting her too. But we know Lolly B works directly with people that are unscrupulous lawyers like Al Otro Lado. Doesn't surprise me that she's pushing all of these people. Remember, they know that these asylum seekers are not going to get asylum. The majority of them, in fact, most of them. You want to hear her say it again? Listen to her. Own words. Lolly B and Jake Lee Harris.
Can we guess how many would get it?
I feel like I heard 20%, but I don't know if that's...
Yeah, like basically it's not...
20 or 30 maybe, but...
Like it's a low percentage.
I don't feel
of
like
all the people that we've been working with, all the people that are applying, this sad truth is that they will not all get asylum. Like most of them won't get asylum. So it's pretty heavy.
Pretty heavy.
Yeah. The repercussions of what you're doing are very, very heavy. Laura Christina Livingston Berger, with her Ivy League psychology professor daddy, with her trips to Burning Man yearly, the woman that has traveled all around the globe but calls herself a homeless activist, tells you in her videos she can't sponsor a migrant, but you totally should. She can't do it because she lives in her car. These people live high on the hog, exploiting around the globe. It's what they do for a living. And right now, there's a bunch of these activists that are getting involved in this whole embassy thing, the Venezuela embassy thing. I'm just going to jump into it real quickly. Here is a video that shows some of the people that are there. Listen what organizations they're from.
No sanctions anymore. No war. No coup. 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 No sanctions anymore. No war. You are and why you're here.
My name is Nefa Freeman. I'm with Black Alliance for Peace and Pan-African Community Action. I'm here to support the Bolivarian Revolution, and they're holding on to their embassy in Washington, D.C. And that's basically it. So.
I'm Sam, and I'm here with the Committee in Solidarity with the people of El Salvador. And I'm here in support of the Embassy Protection Collective. You mind saying who you are and why you're here?
Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself.
Oh, well, I'm Linda Leaks, and of course, I support Venezuela because the Venezuela have supported low-income people with oil here in the USA, in the District of Columbia. And who you want here?
Patrick McCann from Veterans for Peace flew in from Miami yesterday to support the Venezuelan sovereignty and self-determination.
Excellent, thank you. There's a group called Democratic Socialists of America. Here we have Democratic Socialists of America. Yeah!
Socialists of America, and we're opposed to a U.S. war in Venezuela. We're opposed to a U.S. coup in Venezuela. The sanctions have already killed 40,000 Venezuelans. John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and Elliot Abrams are war criminals, not humanitarians. We say no coups for the rich, no wars on the poor.
Excellent.
Woo! He said it. He said it. He said what I was going to say.
Okay.
That looks like the gas mask that rapist Red Wolf Pope was wearing at that Washington, D.C. thing. Remember that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Did you catch the Democratic Socialists of America in there?
The Veterans for Peace? What?
Veterans for Peace! I told you.
Straight from Standing Rock. Here they come. You know?
Here they are. Here they are again, folks. And whose video was that? Well, founder of Code Pink, Medea Benjamin.
Oh, yeah.
That's who. And here's a video of her talking about what they were doing there, what they're protesting, that was posted in the Real News Network. Here's a clip.
Van a quedar dentro de la embajada, con comida, sin comida, con luz, sin luz. Nos dicen que van a quedar ahí resistiendo.
Mi pregunta era, ¿quién estaba pagando la factura de la luz? Que
Ah.
sepa y por qué cortaron la luz.
La factura está al tanto, lo está pagando el gobierno de Maduro, tenemos la factura. Cuando llamamos a la compañía dice que el dueño del edificio, que se dice que es Carlos Vecchio, dijo que se cortara la luz.
How many people do you have inside the embassy? How far are they willing to go?
The people inside the embassy are determined to stay there. They are suffering a lot. I mean, now with this latest thing of cutting off the electricity, it is absolutely unheard of in Washington, D.C. If you're a poor person and you can't even pay the electricity, they can't turn it off. That's a human rights violation. And it's, I think, a reflection and a very sad one on the people who are outside that say they want to improve the lives of people in Venezuela. They want them to have electricity. They want them to have food and water. But they want to turn off the electricity. They want the people inside here to have no food. And they were cheering last night as the electricity were turned off as if that were a great victory for them.
Thank you.
Anything else?
So how many people are there?
There are about 15.
15?
Can you explain what happened to you?
Oh, and I want to talk about the aggressions against us. I have to be wearing these glasses because I have damage in my eyes from the lasers that they've been shining in my eyes every night. I have damage in my ears for having heard what you just heard out there, the constant sirens and the horns in our ears. I have damage to my shoulder, to my shooting pain that goes down here into my neck from having been beaten by a man because I was trying to deliver food. And I am just one person. We have had so many people in our team that have been attacked every time we approach the embassy to try to deliver food, which is a human right. And I am sick and tired of it. We have somebody in the hospital right now. We have people, are going to be suing the Secret Service. We're going to be suing individuals. This has been selective enforcement of the law where we get arrested instead of them. When we tried to put up a tent, and you see how the embassy is surrounded by tents of the opposition. We tried to put up one. My partner, Tig Barry, got arrested for doing that, got held for 3 days in jail and has to go back and is being charged with an assault charge. When we tried to throw some food to the people on the balcony, they were charged with a charge I never heard of before called throwing missiles. So what is going on is unprecedented. There has to be a solution that is amenable to both the United States and Venezuela. Otherwise, we are one step further on the path to a war. And this is a war that John Bolton wants desperately, and this is a war that Trump does not want. So I think no matter what anybody's ideology, we have to get together. We have to stop John Bolton and Elliot Abrams, and we have to say there are solutions that are nonviolent. That's why Mexico has put itself forward. That's why the Vatican has put itself forward. Mediation, talks, and not war. If they give the embassy into the hands of Guaidó, that's another step towards war. Here we have John Bolton, if anybody wants to hear what John Bolton has.
Hey, Mr. Trump, we need to hurry up with this war. Come on. It'll put some hair in your chest. You got your stooge. You got your stooge in Venezuela. You got your stooge. Let's start the war.
Hey, you need to get out. I've asked you a few times not to create a commotion in here.
I'm not creating a commotion.
Yes, you are. You're yelling. You need to leave right now. I'm the manager of this shift.
You're going to ask John Bolton to leave? I'm shocked. I work for the president.
Sir, you were just yelling at me.
I work for
Can't
the
do it.
president. I don't believe this. This is ridiculous. We need our war Venezuelans. We need our gold, our oil, our diamonds. Come on, America, steel.
Thank you. Yeah, read you guys.
Thank you all. We're sorry for the disturbance. It's politics.
What are we buying? You want
Yeah, you leave it.
I've already asked you to leave. You started yelling. I had already asked you not to. Thank you.
We can do it.
So for just our audience, I didn't catch the whole
Yeah.
explanation.
So last night they turned off the electricity to people in the embassy, and the people outside were cheering as if that were a great victory that they turned off the electricity. This makes it much harder for people inside to cook. It makes it harder for them to keep any the little bit of food they have refrigerated, and they also have not been able to get food and medicines into the embassy, and that's been since May 1st when this crowd descended on the embassy. We've been living there for 3 weeks already without any kind of problems. And I think you can see by the actions of today, this is what we've been dealing with for the last 9 days, that they have been blowing these sirens and horns in our ears day and night. They have been shining lasers into our eyes, which has hurt our eyes. They have been physically attacking us. We have people in the hospital right now. We have people with lots of injuries. And that has only been because we've been trying to deliver food into the people inside. We are totally peaceful.
They're very, very harmed. Their people are dying. They're in the hospital.
I know.
They're going to sue the Duke. What do you think about all this?
How'd all that stuff happen? You know, it's just like they're blown over and there's bodies everywhere. You know,
She got a cut on her finger. She's got laser
blind. She
coming
got a
out
laser.
of her
And
eyes.
she's lost her hearing. She's lost her sight. And all they're trying to do is deliver humanitarian aid. You know, that's all they're trying to do. And look how they're being treated. Look what's happening to them. I think it's all, you know, bolstered and fake. Once again, ineffective. That was an attempt to try to get media coverage on what you're trying to do, and basically change the ideas to couch it in the way you want to couch it. I thought it was poorly done. You know, they're not going to move on in the competition. I say they go home and we'll take on a new act and see how they do.
Pay very close attention to this dirty tactic that they have. They use it every single time. They turn themselves into the victim. They've done it with Anthony. They've done it with Oscar. They've done it with me. But here's what they're doing with the media coverage. They go to a place like what happened in Tijuana, and they're ready to film what's going to happen at this action where they're going to go and clash violently with the police at the border and shut down the border. Shut down the border, right? That's what they did in November. They go and they do this, and then they're going, oh my God, the president threw gas at children.
Yeah.
Like, no, it was Border Patrol, and people were throwing rocks and trying to climb over the border wall in a violent rush that caused them to close the border. I repeat, these are the acts of domestic terrorists. These are the acts of people like BAM that littered pamphlets everywhere telling people either you let all these people in or we do, or by any means necessary, we will come in. We will shut everything down. That's what BAM says. They don't have a problem with violence. Neither do these anarchists. They don't. Meanwhile, they're out there filming all of the people who are willing to go to the front. Do you know that when I was watching the Standing Rock attack that happened in November of 2016, I was practically crying. I was watching all of these people getting shot with water cannons and rubber bullets and tear gas and flashbang grenades. And I thought that the Morton County police officers were monsters. They were out there pounding their chest, standing in front of the water cannons, these paid activists. They were slipping and sliding until the wee hours of the morning on the ice in the live streams. We saw them laughing. They were out there singing songs like it was a festival, a music festival or something, and playing music and doing all sorts of crazy, crazy confrontations with the cops. All of it for the cameras. Make no mistake, there were people out there in wetsuits.
Yeah.
Getting water hose, but they were prepared for it. They had gas masks, okay? Some people, innocent bystanders like Kathleen Bennett, got carried away with these activists. They got carried away and they got falsely framed like Kathleen Bennett did. They ended up in an early grave like Mary Trujillo did because of the actions of these activists, of these so-called environmentalists, of these so-called water protectors. And one of those people are the people that are running the Border Support Network, that are promoting these kinds of posts on the Border Support Network page. Here's the Border Support Network post. You can see that it tags Medea Benjamin and Ann Wright. And it's posted in the Border Support Network. You can see that at the very top page. This is what they're putting in the Border Support Network. What does this have to do with the border support? Well, this showcases all of the organizations and groups like Code Pink. Remember I told you Jay Ponte, Jody Evans, the other founder of Code Pink, were doing live streams together with Frances Fisher of Hollywood fame, raising money for, among other things, Border Support Network. And Medea Benjamin, pictured here, is the person that you saw in that video talking right now. She is a political analyst, best known for her co-founding of Code Pink with activist and author Kevin Denaher, the fair trade advocacy group Global Exchange. It says she's from Freeport, New York, and that she is from the Green Party, like Winona LaDuke, like Ralph Nader, like Jill Stein. Notice how they keep coming up.
Yep.
Here's her Twitter page. This is her Twitter page. And again, it tells you she is the Code Pink founder. What are they talking about? What's at the very top of her tweets? Why, it's the embassy protest, right?
Yep.
And if you check out the next post in the Border Support Network, it is La Pachamami. Remember her? We covered this woman before in her association to the Border Support Network, to Pitaya Queen, to Nicole Ramos. She was one of the first people on the scene when the caravan came there in October of 2018, and the fall of 2018, when Pitaya Queen made such a big splash because she got kicked out of all the shelters because she was doing drugs, and she was being accused by locals of trafficking people. And so they kicked her out of one shelter, then they kicked her out of another shelter, and she ended up getting a villa. In a neighborhood where people did not want her or the 80-some transgender and queer people that were staying in this very expensive villa. And so they ran them out of the area. They did not want them there. Well, La Pachamami was one of the people that was with them. Here is her post in Border Support Network about abolishing detention facilities and blah, 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 blah. But let me show you this other post. In her page that she still has up, because this woman, who her real name is Paola Graciela Khan. Paola, like Paola Mendoza, of Families Belong Together. But Graciela Khan, Kahn. And she is here talking about Abolish ICE at a music festival. And she posts two dear friends. This is currently where she posts from on social media. After I exposed her on my show, in a previous show, you can go and Google her name on kpppfm.com. Find the show where I did Paola Khan. You will find that I exposed a lot of her personal life from her public Facebook page posts and who she's connected to, including the people that are on the board of that were on the board of Dream Defenders: Linda Sarasura, Angela Davis, many of the same people that I've seen connected to the Women's March, and of course to Code Pink. And Paola is talking here about how She was with that Tijuana LGBTQ contingent of asylum seekers that were the first to arrive in TJ as part of the larger Central American exodus that arrived in autumn or November of 2018. That's what I just said. And then she goes on to verify that she's working to sponsor and she's connected to another sponsor. P. Is that P for Pitaya? No.
Maybe.
It says, we are raising funds to cover their legal fees because immigration lawyers are really tapped out in this political climate. Fundraising link is in the comment sections. There's 34 other LGBTQ asylum seekers that are part of the contingent that also needs lawyers. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you want to be proactively and find fundraiser and recruit lawyers for some of them. Now, note that this was posted on her page. Well, I screenshotted this today, so this had been posted on today's. But she's raising money for some other LGBTQIA. What I also wanted to show you, though, is Paola has worked with Nicole Ramos and, of course, Pitaya Queen, as we know. I mean, these folks have all been working with the LGBTQIA Caravan at that time, at that specific time. And on this post that was on her personal page, the one that she took down after I exposed her, she was talking about respecting women. And Nicole Ramos chimes in on her post and says to a woman that was talking about, maybe we should read Marilyn's post first. It says, to Nicole Ramos, the Rosarito Holiday Home Tour today, we heard from supporters of one of the Hogares orphanages that this particular home located on Boulevard 2000 has offered to shelter women with children. They have no takers. Why? Nicole Ramos says, because people need to be close to the port of entry to put themselves on the illegal wait list for asylum seekers and to also check out what number from the wait list they can call each day. Many of those facilities are too far from them to do that. Too far from them to do that. And it has been over a month now. If the U.S. wanted to have processed folks, it could have done so already. And La Pachamami says back, hello, can you tell me more about this shelter, Marilyn? I have a woman who may be interested. And Nicole Ramos tags Paola Graciela Khan in response and says to Marilyn, hey, Paola Graciela Khan works with Al Otro Lado. Feel free to communicate with her. This is one of the ladies that works with Code Pink as well. See how it all overlaps? Here's Paola Graciela Khan with Code Pink people. She's over there on the left smiling away with her black hair. I just showed you another picture of her. And who's directly across from her? Medea Benjamin. Right on the other side of that laptop behind the lady with the purple sweater and the black polka dot white dress. Raising her hand up in the air. That's Medea Benjamin.
Wow.
Yeah. They're all wearing their Code Pink shirts, and if you go to the post, you can see it comes from Jody Evan, co-founder of Code Pink page from 2017, and tagging La Pachamami, otherwise known as Paola Graciela Khan, among other women, including Ariel Gold, which in a previous show, and Medea Benjamin, which on a previous show I told you about how Ariel Gold was detained in Israel and questioned for her associations.
Okay, yeah.
And kicked out to Code Pink. Code Pink also is considered one of these hate groups, anti-Israeli hate groups there for what they have done there. And like also Linda Sarsour, and also here is Medea Benjamin with, and this one blew me away, Cassandra Fairbanks.
Wow.
Cassandra Fairbanks, the cam girl, and Winnie Wong friend working on the Bernie Sanders campaign as a Bernie delegate turned Trump supporter, reporter at Sputnik and other publications, conservative publications that included, I believe, Breitbart and Bigley and dang it, I can't think of the other one right now. But here's Cassandra Fairbanks, the same one that threatened to sue me and our station for reporting about her connections to Roger Stone and Julian Assange. Maybe that's why she's all hell-bent on protecting him because of her connections. Check it out, guys. This is a post on Medea Benjamin's page. There's Medea Benjamin right next to Cassandra Fairbanks. And they've got Protect the Truth Code Pink. Cassandra. What you doing, girl? Shape-shifting again? And then you've got this article, which I highly recommend you read. This just, it's beautiful. Code Pink and the Politics of Privilege, the inconsequential and self-congratulatory antics of a once great NGO. Folks, I'm not saying that a lot of these organizations may not have started out with the best of intent. Even some of these immigrant organizations and legal groups, but they've been infiltrating them, and some of these people have just literally hijacked movements, like they did at Standing Rock, like they're doing with the immigration topic. That's what this article is talking about. I'm just going to read a little bit to you. 2 weeks ago, peace activists from Code Pink occupied the deserted Venezuela embassy in Washington, D.C. The self-proclaimed Colectivos for Peace decided to show their support for embattled President Nicolas Maduro by locking themselves in said embassy, apparently to prevent the government of the usurper Juan Guaido from taking control of offices abandoned by Maduro's government. Let's ignore for the moment Code Pink's comical, alarming, and frequent misspellings of Guaido's name when the protest began. Guido is how they spelled it since deleted on Twitter, and focus instead on the utterly unflattering optics they created for themselves. For one, the term colectivo raises red flags for anyone who's actually lived in or reported from Venezuela. The colectivos of Venezuela have a terrifying reputation. They regularly employ violence, both to disperse opposition protests and visit retribution on dissidents and journalists alike. They have been repeatedly documented participating in extortion, smuggling, profiteering for human trafficking, and even extrajudicial killings. But the terrible name was just the beginning. I think it's fitting. Maybe it wasn't a mistake, guys. Maybe it wasn't a mistake. So, folks, I want you to check out the rest of this Medium article. It's a good read, and it'll show you how these dirty tactics of these activists are just that. They don't really mean what they say or intend to actually stand up for the things that they claim, and they're heavily manipulated by the powerful, political, well-connected, privileged, moneyed interests that are really behind them. For example, Mr. Senator Jeff Merkley. He popped up again. Can you believe it? Here's a Code Pink, hands off Venezuela letter. This is a letter they want you to sign to Congress that is endorsed by Danny Glover, who is not from Oregon. He's from San Francisco. But for some reason, Jeff Merkley's their man. You've heard me talk about Jeff Merkley going to the same agape shelter that I've been reporting that children were going missing from. The same Jeff Merkley that was talking to the two girls that I later was interviewing about their kidnapping, their brush with kidnappers and coyotes before they disappeared from the shelter at the hands of a coyote. And now Jeff Merkley is involved in this letter with none other than Danny Glover. And it says in Venezuela, hands off Venezuela, no al golpe en Venezuela. That means no to the coup in Venezuela. They're calling it a coup. And Danny Glover, who's signing Code Pink's letter to Congress, and in it, it says, the U.S. is orchestrating a coup in Venezuela that is likely to lead to bloodshed, even civil war. Instead of meddling in the internal affairs of another country, the U.S. should be supporting peaceful dialogue facilitated by mediators such as Mexico, Uruguay, and the Pope. We've seen and are seeing now at the U.S.-Mexico border the effects of past U.S.-backed coups in Latin America, Guatemala in 1953, Chile in 1973, Honduras in 2009. It always turns out disastrous for people. Senator Merkley has introduced legislation making it clear to President Trump that without congressional authorization he does not have, he may not use military force in Venezuela. Representative David Cicilline has introduced similar legislation in the House. Send a message to your senators and representatives telling them to co-sponsor this Senate Bill 1004 in the House to prevent Trump, Bolton, and Abrams, from being able to send the U.S. military to intervene. And then it's got the overseas supporters can sign a petition. It's got a petition and asks for people to co-sponsor the bill. And it's signed by a bunch of people. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know what I found most interesting about seeing Danny Glover on this, Duke? No. Remember? Well, beside the fact that he's not from Oregon and Jeff Merkley's not, but I know that Jeff Merkley is this guy's dude, right? Yeah. I showed you Sophia Marie de Laredo Chudy, Nanette Barragan's campaign something employee, posting and tagging Jeff Merkley, complaining about Grupo Beta, complaining about the human rights abuses against her and the workers of Al Otro Lado. Complaining. And Jeff Merkley, anytime they call his name, he's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Point me in the right direction. So he's out there. But Danny Glover is too, folks. He's part of this Hollywood elite. I'm going to share a show with you called Hollywood in which I talked about all of this. And not just Danny Glover, but all of the other actors, many of which I saw out at Standing Rock, many of which I saw after Standing Rock in a variety of political campaigns, including Danny Glover, who were managed by PR people like Maggie Day and Seven McDonald, the daughter of the singer of country Joe and the Fish.
Yep.
One of the people that is involved currently in the management and PR of the Caravan. Here's a picture from her timeline. Seven McDonald posting a picture of Danny Glover at some event for Bernie Sanders. And if you go to the right, you'll note there this was posted in 2016. Okay? Same year as Standing Rock. And guess what? Danny Glover also did posters. You know, here he is wearing a New York shirt, nice suit. It says, Bernie 2016, every vote is a sign of the truth. She worked on his campaign. She manages Hollywood actors and actresses along with Winnie Wong, along with all of these other people like the Indian Problems Desiree Kane, like Seven McDonald. And guess what? Medea Benjamin and these Code Pink people, they don't just have these politicians that they work with in their pocket. Medea, they're all connected to these groups like the Democratic Socialists, the BDSM promoters, the BDSM movement promoters, Boycott, Divest, and Sanction, and Code Pink. Here's some more proof. This is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the Justice Democrats, one of the Democratic Socialists of America, being posted about by Medea Benjamin of Code Pink. And what is she holding in her hand? Why, it's a Code Pink banner, folks. Feminism, not militarism. At Code Pink. At Code Pink. If you want to learn more about Code Pink and its connections to the Caravan, its connections to the Hollywood figures that are moving and funding this Caravan, go check out my shows on Code Pink. All you got to do, folks, to learn more about all of the reporting that I have done about this, if you want to educate yourself and know how they work, who they are, their profiles and their backgrounds, just go check out A Mexican Crossing Lines on kpppfm.com. I have all my shows there are archived, ready for you to download, watch, and share. Don't forget to go and subscribe on our YouTube channel. We're so close to having our goal of 1,000. We want to get over 1,000 followers. Please help us share this information in all the ways possible out there on social media. And thanks for listening to A Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp
and Duke Gomez-Schempp,
here on 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Thanks, and good night.